story in every bottle. Cheers! It's Monday again.
How about that?
It's been a long time.
It's been
over a month
long
since we
dry
sat together
spell.
on this couch.
It's been dry for
Dry.
a month.
It hasn't been that dry for me. I've been drinking Italian wines.
Oh, I know. But this isn't Italian.
No, this is special. We're going to talk all about this.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
After
my preamble. Yes, thank you for reminding me about that. Look at that. Hello, folks. Welcome to another Monday night with the Hermits. Is that what we are, the Hermits? Yes. That's good. So, if you're joining us for the very first time tonight, thank you. Welcome. If you're joining us and you are one of our regulars, thank you as well. We really appreciate your support. And if either way, if you'd let us know that you're here by simply writing a comment, leaving your name in the comment section, either on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll know that you're enjoying the show with us. And if you're having a beverage with tonight's show, please share what that beverage is. We'd love to know. And if not, that's fine too. If you're new to the show, we'd love it if you'd consider subscribing to our channels. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, yes, right under Ken, and there's a little subscribe button. We'd appreciate that support. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our Facebook channel, you can. There's a little bell on the screen. Just click that bell, and you'll subscribe to Facebook. All that means is, if we go live, either here on Monday night or somewhere else in the world, you'll get a notification letting you know that the Hermits went live somewhere. And you can join in if you'd like to. If you like this broadcast, we'd appreciate it if you'd like it, and share it with your friends and family if you think there are others that would enjoy it as well. And I think that covers it. So,
All right.
Yeah, you can talk now.
Excellent. I have a voice.
Oh, I didn't say too. If you have questions, please ask the questions in the comments, and we will be reading them along the way. And if we can answer those questions online, we will. If we can't, we'll answer them after we get off. So.
Right. Very good. We could have gone live from earlier today.
We could have.
That would have been fun.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Where were we today?
Spinning around down the hill.
Taking advantage of some of this huge amount of snow that we got dumped on. For all of you who are watching us from some New England location, maybe the southern parts, I guess Massachusetts got more rain than snow. But if you were north of Concord, you got
snow.
We got about 2 feet here in Meredith, and it's
you got about 2 feet?
Just about, almost a little shy, maybe.
Wow,
it's like 20 inches or something. There's a lot of snow.
I guess we got about that. It got compacted a bit with that rain.
A lot of
through
snow.
the middle. Yeah. No, I know. What's interesting is I've had a sore finger today. It finally dawned on me it was from the snowblower. The trigger of the snowblower to move the thing around and yank it around.
Yeah. That was a heavy snow to be plowing with that snow.
Well, I got it the first evening in the morning before it turned to rain. And then I got it early this morning.
You did it a couple times.
Or Sunday morning before it happened. So I did it twice.
So we have some folks. Matt's on.
Excellent.
I thought I saw him earlier. And Gary is on.
Great.
Welcome, Gary. Good to see you again. And Christine, of course, is here.
Excellent.
Thank you, Christine.
Christine.
We love that you guys keep coming back and enjoying this conversation with us. We really appreciate it. Christine's having a Redscare. Good choice for tonight's show.
Nice choice.
And,
what vintage is that Redscare?
What vintage? That's a great question. And Matt is having a heirloom crabapple with homemade chicken pot pie. Ooh.
Oh. Where's
You're
that? I
making
bet that
me
goes really,
hungry.
because that
Oh,
crab
it
apple
goes
goes great with turkey,
perfect.
with chicken, with
I
so
actually,
pot pie, I bet
I make
would be great.
I make a chicken pot pie, and it does go good with it actually. Chicken or turkey,
You
you can use
the
either.
same crust you do with your blueberry
I
pie?
do, yes.
So I bet it's awesome.
And Matt says, I'm too shy to ask. Something tells me that's not true. He's being facetious. Matt said they also got a bunch of ice down in Massachusetts. That's what it was an ice storm. I saw some pictures of ice
My
over
trees were all coated with ice
Yeah.
from the rain that came through in the middle.
And Christine's down in Rhode Island. She just got rain.
Rain.
3 inches of rain, a lot of rain. Of course, that 3 inches turned into 24 inches of snow here.
Right.
So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about wine.
Wine.
And
I love that.
We're talking about one of our favorite wines. It's certainly one of my favorites.
Indeed.
It's, and it's so...
I think this is one of Matt's favorites,
It's
too.
so nice. Yeah, I think Matt kind of likes this
Yeah.
wine. Yeah. It's been so satisfying in so many ways to have this wine become what it is today through trial and error, through time, and its sort of humble origins early on. And I'll just go through that a little bit quickly here for people who may not know about it.
What are we drinking right now?
So this is the 2020 vintage of Redscare. And we're going to have a total of 4 vintages today.
But before that, you're going to take us back to the beginning.
I'm going to take us back to the beginning.
This
the very beginning was 2008. So
Are you
2008
Are you 100% sure of that date?
Yeah.
That's the first vintage of Redscare.
of Redscare. Yeah. I have the
Collected
notes.
from fruit from your back.
And it was all based on my property. So
And that was an intention going into it? Or
well,
just happenstance?
My son Max had set up the beehives in my backyard, and so I had fresh honey, and I was rapidly becoming aware of the fact that I can take honey as a base and ferment just about anything with it as a flavor color component, you know. And the property, I've got apples and various fruits growing. I have some blackberries, I have some black raspberries, I have some wild blueberries, I have some high bush blueberries. There's just lots of fruit sources. And so I thought that a dark berry, and I think I was reading a book, Ken Schramm, The Complete Mead Maker. So I'm reading this book, which is a great book on approaches to making mead, and he's talking about different types of blends, and one of them was taking dark berries, blending them with honey, and fermenting that. And so I thought, well, I'll go pick my dark berries and blend them with honey and see what we get. Max was in his first semester, his fall semester at Hampshire College in Western Massachusetts.
2008.
Not too far from where Matt Dennett lives. And he joined up to play on the Ultimate Frisbee team, and the name of that team is Redscare. And I took the honey from the beehives that he set up. So that's where the name came from. And I put that all together, and it was much lighter in color. It was more of like a pinkish sort of color. It was much more honey forward. I didn't use nearly as many pounds of dark berries like I do now with the ratio of honey and water. But it had this great, fresh
I remember that now. Yeah.
flavor.
Yeah.
It was much more honey forward. Even up until 2013, 2014, it was still a lighter, we had it in the skinny bottles, and it was a lighter, more honey rich.
And you hadn't gone into the barrel yet.
And
15, I think, was the first
I
barrel
first
year.
did barrels in 2012. Went back to my notes. So I did start barrel aging some Redscare in 12, and then 14, and then 15 was the
Where you brought them together.
first year where that's it. I'm going to be in barrels from here on out.
Yeah. So I'm still curious, and this is, I don't know why I care about this subtlety of a point, but it's always, I've thought about this before, so I'm going to ask it again. You've talked about this idea that you were going to do, you were inspired by creating something from your property by collecting all the red berries and putting it in the wine. It's kind of like, which came first? Did you like, I'm going to make a wine that's made up of all my red berries, or I have these berries and I'm going to start experimenting with it? is there a difference for that in your head, or was it a conscious
don't know.
effort that it had to be about your property? Or could it have been berries that came from anywhere and you were just curious about berries and mead?
No, it was all on my property. You know,
But
there was a time
that was
when
an important thing to you.
that was important. I mean, Maya and I, we had that huge garden. We were putting up
That's
a lot
right.
of food. We
That's
were
right.
canning and freezing and growing. I mean, I just spent a lot of time
Okay. so
in
that
my
makes
backyard.
sense.
That's where a
We
lot
were
of
making syrup in your backyard.
we were making syrup
You were
there,
brewing beer in your backyard.
beer, beehives, pruning trees.
Growing hops for your beer.
Yep, planting new types of trees.
Yeah, so it was about your yard.
So it's about the yard, and because there was no concept of a winery in
right.
our minds.
In 2008, no, not even
There was no
remote.
concept of that at all.
Nope.
We were all doing our jobs, doing our lives, all that sort of stuff. And my life was just really expanding into the fact that the property that we bought with the fruit that's there, I don't have to just eat all these apples and eat all these peaches and stuff like that. I can turn them into alcoholic beverages. And that to me was awesome because it was a way of storing the fruit and creating something. I like eating blackberries and blueberries and honey, but I really like drinking this
Drinking
wine.
blackberries, blueberries, and honey.
There's a difference.
A couple comments. Christine quipped that she's surprised Matt's not here, knowing that we're having a Red Scare. It's not Matt's fault, Christine. It's our fault because we only decided to tell you folks that we were having a Red Scare night about 4 hours ago. So
Yeah, we were driving back from the ski slopes and Bob's sitting in the front seat typing up
yeah,
the
exactly.
post about what we're doing tonight. So,
Yeah, so
that was
Otherwise,
it.
I'm
And
quite certain Matt probably would have been here if he had had some advance notice. Even an hour more notice,
That's
he might
right.
have made it.
That's right.
Matt wants you to make sure to share the book that you referred to in the notes here, the Ken Schramm
Yeah,
book.
Ken Schramm, The Complete Mead Maker. It's one of the most
Schramm? CH?
uh,
CHRAM?
Schramm, SCHRAMM maybe.
I'll let you guys figure it out. I think it's close, but
He's got his own meadery. He's in the Midwest
Complete Mead
somewhere.
Maker, right?
The complete, yeah, and they spell complete in like an old English format. It's not the way we spell complete. There's an E on the end of it. Anyway, it's a standard, classic now book for mead making. Highly recommended. And I love his approach. It's very empowering to people to go and get good fresh honey, good fresh quality ingredients, and make wine out of them. So I was really, really excited about that and made this wine. Max was in college for 4 years. I gave him an 08, an 09, a 2010, and 2011. He gave me his T-shirt with grass strains from
The Red
from
Scare t-shirt.
laying out the Red Scare T-shirt that I have in a frame down by my chem bench downstairs. But what's interesting about this wine is it's evolved a lot, and it's changed a lot over the years. And we've done some vertical tastings here, and I'm sure we'll do that in the future. We have a library that is fairly complete, but the earliest Red Scare I have is 2011.
Earliest,
So
that's
8,
pretty early.
9, and 10 are gone,
But that's
except
the first commercial version.
11, 10 was the first commercial one.
Oh, that's right.
And we took some of them to the beer store down in Conk, down in Manchester, a couple of places that were into meads. And Jim, Chuck's cousin, has an early bottle that I gave him years ago, and he's been storing it ever since. I really want to try that wine, see what it's like, because I love the way they age. So the wines have morphed, and what we're going to drink tonight is one of the last bottles of the 2020 vintage, which, quite frankly, I think was one of the best ever. And not just from what I was doing, but primarily what Mother Nature gives to me. 2020 was a fantastic year for dark berries in New England. It was just great. The conditions were just right, the amount of rainfall, the amount of sun. That's when blueberries reached 17 bricks, 18 bricks. So everything got really ripe, really
Just as a reference, 18 bricks, that's the sugar content
That's the sugar
as we
content.
measure it in the field. And a typical blueberry is
12.
10 or 12.
Yeah.
So 18 bricks is more than
It's way up. It's half again.
Half again as much sugar. It's insane.
I know,
And a
it's-
typical wine is going to be 23, 24 bricks.
Yeah.
So it's just shy of a wine. And we always sort of joke that blueberries are the next closest thing that
Yeah.
you could get to a grape that grows natively in this part of the world.
Yep. Yeah. Kiwi berries.
Kiwi berries.
Learned about that last week.
Yeah, no, I still think that's. Oh, I hope we can figure out a way to explore that further, because I think
Yeah, I'm gonna work with him.
I think kiwi
work with him
berries
some more.
are potentially the wine grape of New England. They're the wine fruit of New England, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to make a white wine, but it's not going to be your red wine fruit of New England. But it's everything that a grape is, right? But that was last week's show.
Except that's last week's show. Let's stick with Redscare. All right. So there were a lot of trials and tribulations and different directions that I went with Redscare over the past decade. Ever since 2017, I started a new path in being able to concentrate the flavors to a level that I wanted them. I was able to pull back the honey note to where I wanted it, so that you know that there's honey in there, but it doesn't dominate the whole thing. And I did that by adding in some sugar as part of my fermentables. So in the beginning, it was 100% honey and dark fruit and water. That's what made Redscare. Now it's about like 85% honey that added sugar and 15% dextrose that I add in. And so that gets me my alcohol level that I want, but it pulls back the honey note a little bit to make it more wine-like, to make it more in balance to me. We're gonna go forward here in our vertical tasting. So we're starting with the oldest today is 2020. This is what we're currently selling. I'm very sorry to see it go. I have 1 or 2 cases in our library for us to hold it.
2, I hope.
2, I hope. If not, we'll have to grab one out of the place here. And I know I have quite a few bottles in my cellar. But then we're going to go forward. We're going to go to 2021, 2022, and this just was pulled out of one of the barrels of 2023. So we're going to be going forward to progressively younger wines.
Okay, so also you do alter your recipe slightly as you learn.
Yes.
How much alteration is there between these 4 wines?
So these are pretty similar in the formula. The fruit is different in each year. So the 2021 fruit was of a much lower quality than 2020. And ironically, the price of the blueberries went up. 2020, not only were they the best, they were the least expensive. And
Because there was a glut of blueberries on the market.
because there was a glut of
They
blueberries.
couldn't move them, so they were lowering the
So
price.
they lowered the price. And I held on and I kept buying 20 berries as much as I could for Deep Blue. I made an extra batch of Deep Blue Reserve that year, and it was a great year for berries. This is the last vintage where I had to go out of New England to get one of the critical components, which are black raspberries. The ones going forward here are locally derived black raspberries
From where?
from my friend Bob Perkins, the 70-year-old farmer
Oh, wow.
right down south of us here in Pittsfield.
And he can get enough for you.
Oh, you should see, UNH comes out there and cannot believe the black raspberries that grow on his property. They're crazy. They're 15-foot canes. 15-foot canes. They go up and over and down, and he's got to crop them and contain them, and they just produce black raspberries like there's no tomorrow, and they're fantastic.
Wow.
And so this is where we had a black raspberry mead for a while, a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And I made a new dark red wine called Double Black, but that got blended into Lake House Red, but I got to do that on the side, which was fun. Had a barrel of that. That was blackberries and black raspberries.
So what was the,
So-
so it's blueberries, that's from
Blueberries,
blackberries from New
Blackberries.
Hampshire.
Blackberries come from New Jersey,
Okay, so blackberries and black raspberries.
and then
Okay.
black raspberries. Blackberries, I still can't get a local supplier. which is crazy because blackberries grow all over the place here. I got a ton of them in my yard, but everybody that grows blackberries picks them and sells them in little containers for $10.
Well, they can't, right, economically, they can't
Which
sell
is
you.
the way to go.
Excuse me, a wholesale price.
Right. New Jersey, I can buy them for $2 a pound. And
That's
no
a
one's-
volume issue. I mean, if you're only gonna produce a few hundred pounds of blackberries, best way to sell them
is at the market.
like $10.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. And there's a commercial grower in Massachusetts that I almost worked with, but the lowest they would go is $8 or something a pound in
You
the
tried
form
their
of
fruit?
little containers. I did not.
You might. Be worth doing. I mean, the cost of that fruit per pound, at the end of the day, if the fruit is significantly different or better, remember when you were getting black raspberries from Washington?
Mm-hmm.
How would you say the difference is between those and the ones you're getting now?
The black raspberries?
Yeah. I mean, if I recall,
little
it's like
hard-
night and day.
It's hard to tell because I don't have them side by side. So this is like any of these things. I can go
I
back
just
to my
remember when
notes.
but I remember the first year we didn't get the Washington State blackberries,
Yeah.
and you got the New Jersey blackberries, and I remember you being like, these are not what we're used to.
They're not the same.
Yeah.
And and I worked with Michael Pinto to work towards one grower in New Jersey whose blackberries I like the best.
Okay.
And that's what I get now. But
So
the
maybe they're
blackberries
similar.
that come out of Washington State are a different style than what grows here, and they have a different flavor profile.
Okay.
They're bigger. My son Max now, lives out in Seattle and grows all sorts of fruit in his backyard. He plants tons of stuff. And the blackberries there are they're all over the place, all over Seattle. You go down the interstate, I-5, and there's just blackberries on the side of the road.
Wow.
Just tons of them. They're a weed. They're more invasive than Japanese knotweed here.
No.
Yes. They through the cracks in the sidewalk, through everybody's yards, through their fences, just tons of it. Tons
Wow.
of blackberries. It's just crazy out there. So this is the 21. And I think you can see it in the color. It's not as dark. Same formula. And I'm starting to nuance the wines a little bit here where I formulaically adjust my approach to making the wine when I know what the concentration of the sugars are in the fruit.
Well, and of course that's how grape wines do it too. Grape wine makers are going to change the
They
formula
do
based
that.
on the ripeness and the,
Yep.
the pH and the.
They may bleed off a bunch of the juice if
Yeah.
it rained before they harvested it to get the right concentration. So I'm starting to learn how to do that in my wines. But it's so this one is got a lighter color, and this is the same vintage that's in the Stoneface barrels. So the Redscare that we have down there, and some people, we've tried the Stoneface next to the 2020, and people are like, well, I like the 2020 better. And it's because it's a richer, more concentrated wine. This tends to be a lighter.
It is different. Well,
It's
before
a
I say
little-
that, Matt just asked
Yeah.
what wines you put elderberries in. It's a little different.
That I put elderberries into?
Yeah. It's the,
Hermitage, of course. Lake House Red. And elderberry wine.
that's it, right?
And melange.
Oh,
And I think I blended some in with a black currant wine we made years ago that we don't have anymore. But that's what I use elderberries in. Elderberries have that very funky, earthy sort of character. So this to me is a little bit more reminiscent of the older Redscares. It's a little bit more honey forward, and to me, it's because the fruit isn't as intense as before.
this
And-
to me, this reminiscent of the conversation we were having earlier, is more European.
Interesting. Why do you say what makes it more European? Because it's not as jammy. It's not as New World. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not as fruity,
It's not as fruity.
and I don't know that. I mean, it's okay to me. It's got nice fruit.
Yeah, I like the flavor of it. I'm not disappointed with the way it came out. It's just so different from the 20.
And it does feel like it has more of a grip.
It is.
sticks to my
it's
mouth
a little
more.
drier. It's a little drier on the finish. It's a little more stringent. And
Why
I
would
think,
you say that is?
I think it's because you're not getting the sweetness of the fruit, so that it gives you that effect of.
No change in barrel aging years.
They're similar, and each time I just sort of make that call by taste.
Similar barrels.
Similar barrels. I have it all tracked out, but I don't. Barrels.
Maceration, pressing, similar.
This one I was just writing up the notes for the 2-bottle club, because the 2-bottle club for April is getting a bottle of the 2020 and the 2021. So,
Hear
and
that,
I
Matt?
think Matt's in the 2-bottle club. So he'll get a bottle. I just want to make sure that people have an opportunity to try these side by side. So it's going to be those two.
I think I actually prefer this one than the 22, than the 20.
Really?
Mhm.
Interesting.
And
I could see that. I could see I had an 18 or a 19 the other night at home, and it was a little bit more like this.
So what I'm going to guess is that today I prefer this one over the 2020, but in 5 years, this one is going to get tired. The 2020 is going to keep going. Maybe more than 5, maybe 10, but the 2020 I think has more to live on. So it can evolve over time and lose some of that jamminess and still have a nice rich character to it. This one is gonna lose its.
You think so? I think this one will be really sublime.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Now that I've tasted it, I mean, we bottled this
Well,
a year ago or 9 months ago. And so it's just been sitting in the bottles, continuing to age. And this is really rounded out nicely.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
really
very
nice.
soft,
yeah.
round. I've been trying
So
to handle my wines more gently. I'm getting having my head above the water finally in the production to be able to then nuance it. And I don't know that anyone will notice it other than myself, but that's what
I
I've been
notice it.
working towards.
I
in
notice
it.
it. But I also think, hear this logic though. when we have some of the grape wines that we drink that are 10, 15 years old, oftentimes we are concerned that when a wine starts to pass or starts to go south is when we start losing fruit. But when we find a wine that's starting to really come into its own age-wise, it's when we actually get to experience the fruit.
Yeah, right.
So whereas the tannins sort of subdued the fruits
They
during the
overpower
young.
it early on.
Yeah. So that's how I'm feeling. If you said these are both similar stringency, so there's similar tannins in the fruitier one, that I'm just thinking that that's going to be able to hold up longer because its fruitiness is.
It has enough fruit.
It's ahead of the game already on fruit.
Yeah.
And
this is behind the game on
This is
fruit.
behind the game on fruit, so you're going to lose even more fruit as this thing matures. So I'm wondering if that's not. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just guessing.
Well, we'll get a chance to see.
We will. Yeah, hope so.
So now this is the 22.
I really do like this though. This
I
is
like
very
this too. I'm more pleased with the 21 than I was when I bottled it. So the bottle time has helped the wine, which is really what's great here. I mean, this is just ending the 2020, so we're releasing the 21. The year is 24, so this has had, 3 years of life
or 1 year in the
and
bottle.
about a year in the bottle. This one just went into bottle last week. This is the 22 vintage, and this vintage returns to a richer, the berries were a little darker, they had a little bit more component to them. This at least at the time, right before bottling, seemed to have more of that richness that the 20 had. And I haven't had the 23 in a while, so that's going to be interesting to see what that's like. So again, it's primarily the fruit that's expressing itself here because I really like where the wine is. So I'm not making big changes in the wines. What I've done with both the 21 and the 22, I built the wine differently. So I get the fruit at different times. New Jersey's harvest of the blackberries, it's the timing of the fruit that sort of dictates when I put these together. And sometimes the timing is that I'm going to make half of the wine, and then later I'm going to make the other half, and then I'm going to blend them.
Mm-hmm.
And during making those halves of the wine, I've made a black raspberry mead, because that was a component that went in with the other parts. And then I also did a blackberry mead, which was something that then was going to get blended into Redscare. So that's been fun to be able to play around with these other components, but then put it all together. And kind of like the Hermitage, where I get to tweak it and nuance it a little bit. But the formula so far has always been about the same sort of ratio. Equal parts blackberries and blueberries, a much subdued component of black raspberries because they're very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to overpower them. I like black raspberries a lot, but I don't want to have it overpower. So this is the 22. It's been in the bottle a week.
Wow. The nose is very different on this one.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is more grape wine like to me. There's a
I don't know what, it's hard for me to define the difference, but it's different. So different.
but probably it would be. We should have had 4 glasses here to go inside.
That'd be a lot of glasses to watch.
It'd be a lot of glasses, I know. But
like I said,
so this
the
is
last
kind of
thing I would
different.
have expected the winemaker to say,
There's
we don't want to dirty glasses.
Well, I think it's because I'm tired. This has more beeswax note to it coming off right now. Again, this is going to change drastically before it's released in 2025 or whenever we finish up selling the 21, then we'll move on to the 22.
There's a little, is the alcohol in this? I got a little alcohol heat when I really stuck my nose in there.
So that makes sense because all of these wines, a lot of wines are like this. When you build that wine, when it's just finished fermenting, the alcohol tends to dominate the format. You know, like you were talking about the fruit emerging over time. The tannins will keep it held back. The alcohol holds it back too. And so when I have these wines and they're young, the alcohol dominates it. Deep Blue is really a kicker because that one's cranked up at 18%. And it's just, all you smell is alcohol. There's no fruit. And it takes a couple of years for the fruit to come out. And the alcohol level doesn't change. It's not as if it's evaporating out, but it's somehow the fruit needs time to emerge and come out from underneath it.
So that brings me to my next comment. This is disjointed. That's the word that comes to mind to me. The nose and I haven't tasted it yet, but on the nose, I'm getting multiple kinds of characteristics off this nose each time I stick off the smell, each time I stick my nose into it. I'll see what happens when I put it in my mouth, but
it's definitely hot. It's definitely a hotter wine. It may have a higher alcohol level too, but it definitely dominates it. There's almost like a port-like character. I get almost like a tawny hiding underneath in there somehow.
Let it
play in my mouth for a moment.
Yeah, and settle down into the lower part of your mouth, up against your gums. Let it just kind of pool in the area of your gums. It's got this grippiness to it. As I let it fall forward against on the roof of my mouth and the gum, it's like a roughness to it. I don't know what that is. Do you find it? Do you see that?
I'm just way too hot. Alcohol, it just dominates it to me. There's like a candy corn note. There's a burnt sugary candy. I think it's got to be from the honey. You know, the honeys are all wildflower honeys. They're a little bit different.
I just got the candy corn.
Did you get it? There's something there. young wines are really fun because they change so much.
That's what I mean.
And
That's
so
why
Ben,
it's
ben,
still
has been, Ben has
disjointed.
been trying to learn that, and I tell him, I said, you just taste these wines all the time. Anytime you're pulling stuff out to do chemistry or moving the wine, just make sure you sample it because they change. And when you make beer, you drink beer done, most of the time.
So this wine, even if it was time, even if we had a spot for it on the shelf, even if we were done
It's
with
too young.
22, this is too young.
It's
It
too
is
young to-
definitely disjointed.
Yeah.
It is not come together yet.
Yeah.
All of these interesting characters and flavors are there, but they're bouncing all over my mouth. I don't know
That's
where
what the
it's going.
21 was like just 9 months ago when I bottled it.
Not
It was,
anymore.
And the 21 is starting to come together beautifully, and it's a much more harmonious wine.
That's fascinating.
It's
These are three very different wines,
yeah,
which is surprising because they're all more or less the same. As you said, they're
right.
you know,
I like this formula. I like the shape and character of this wine a lot, and each one of them is a little bit different every time.
Oh no, Matt says we're killing him.
I know, Matt, it's a shame. We really wish you could be here because you should be sharing these wines with us, but we'll do it again. You'll be back. You'll be here. Don't you? I'm confident you'll have a chance to try these sooner than later. That,
Yeah.
he says, I had honeycomb for my birthday. That beeswax makes it so silky and smooth. With the grippy tannins, Redscare hits it out of the park. You are a big fan of this wine. I
Yes.
know.
You need to have a barrel of this.
I know. We should have a barrel club.
He wants a
He's
barrel
so pissed
club.
at me right now.
He wants a barrel.
I
club.
know.
Are you
I'm
Are you
teasing
just
him. Yeah.
teasing him?
I've been telling you that for years, is what he's saying. Right? He's going to say yes in a second.
Yeah, as soon as the alcohol blows off on this, I think just 6 months in the bottle will really help it tremendously.
Philip says he really is. Are you together with him right now, Philip, or are you in separate places?
Yeah, I think this is kind of between the two, between 20 and 21. I think that's where this is going to be in another 6
year.
months.
6 months for a year.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right because on the nose here, there is some nice fruity character
Yep.
that's coming off that nose.
It's not as concentrated. The fruit in 22, it just, was just what it is.
The other thing that you've talked a lot about this going all along the way. The thing that I love about this wine the most, it's one of the ones you've achieved this probably more than any other, is body.
Yeah.
There's a weight
Right.
and a coating and a mouthfeel that this wine has that is reminiscent of any of the best grape wines I've ever had. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be any different. I wouldn't want it to be any more.
Yeah.
It's just the right amount of coating.
Yeah. If
lingers in your
any
mouth.
bit more, it's
It'd
too
be
heavy.
too much. It'd be too heavy.
Anything less, it's going to be a little thin.
Yeah. It's
And-
right, this hitting the spot. It's
Yeah.
coating my mouth. It lingers in my mouth. Long after I've swallowed it, I still have that taste.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this is going to be a nice wine.
Yeah.
It's gonna
No,
be a really
I'm
nice
really
wine.
I'm really excited about how they evolve. And there's a whole brick of this, 4 layers on a pallet, tucked in the back behind 2 pallets of this.
And that's all we have of it is a brick,
Yeah.
one brick.
Yeah.
It's a small batch. We made a
And
small
23
batch.
is even smaller.
Ooh.
And one of the 20 Hermitage, I can't wait till that gets released. That was one of the best ever. That's coming up soon.
We have to have a vintage chart. We gotta start a vintage chart. There's no such thing as a vintage chart for fruit wines, but we should have one because you're proving it out. Which years are right?
They're different. It's like, early on when we were first going, we went and collected, black currants from this farm over in Vermont and different things. And I didn't realize that 2012 was just an incredible year for dark fruit in New England. And it was another 8 years, and it happened in 2020. 2023 was a crappy year for fruit. Last year was a crappy year. Just
Last year was terrible for everything. Last year was the
Lots of
May
things.
18th freeze. We didn't get a lot of fruit last year.
Oh,
We didn't
wow.
get crab apples.
Wait till you smell this one. This is a good way to go. From
Oh my God. That's not even Redscare.
Yeah, not yet.
Wow.
It will be though.
Oh no, I know. It's totally
Isn't that
different. I
wild?
mean, it's just.
Yeah. It's young.
But I
sour.
recognize the smell from you know what,
Yeah.
your earlier Red Scares were characteristic of this when they went in the bottle. This is a smell I remember from the early days.
And it may have been the timing. You know, as we've
Green.
as we've grown, that this is definitely green. This is definitely green. It's green blackberry leaves.
This is 2023
stems.
fruit too, right?
This is the 23.
It's thinner, lighter color.
There's a
I don't dislike the nose.
there's
though.
a
It's kind of
spark. There's a
interesting.
spiciness. Yeah, the nose right now has just got some young yeasty funk and stuff going on that just takes time to go away. So many wineries are so cramped for time on their wines. They got to get the wine out of the tank, get it in a bottle because they need that tank for next year's harvest. And so they may be bottled before they're ready.
So,
And it just has to be done, and off it goes. And then, and this goes on in Europe too, all over the place. But
It goes on
you
everywhere.
go to Europe, they put those in a bottle, and then those bottles get laid down in the cellar for years before they're released. But so many more wineries, especially in this country, have figured out that, you know what? We shouldn't be sitting on our wine for all that time. Let's just sell it. Let's make it in a format that allows us to drink it, sell it faster. And so we've moved into so much of the wine is young. It's just young stuff that gets put out. And it's rare to find a wine that's more put together because people don't want to wait that time.
right. And it's fascinating because when we first started the winery, I remember we knew this already. We knew that wines got better with time, and we wanted that to happen. So we made this pact that we were going to make wines that we want to drink, and we realized early on that our wines did get better with a few years of age. And so we began hoarding our wines. So for the first 3 or 4 years,
Yes.
we were literally hoarding the wines. We were just piling it up in the cellar, filling up the back corners of the warehouse with case after case after case of some of our older vintage wines. And then we hired this wine broker from Washington
Oregon.
State,
Yeah, from Washington.
Oregon, and they come and their job, they're charged with the task of selling our wine. And they go and they taste this older wine and they go, well, this is nice. And, oh yeah, but it's going to get better, so we're going to sit on it. You're not selling that. No, we have to wait. Well, what am I supposed to sell?
Right.
If you can't sell that, that's your best wine.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you sell it? It's the best stuff
I remember
you
that.
have.
That was the Hermitage.
Hermitage, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we can't sell it. We're aging it. That's not the point, gentlemen. You're supposed to make wine to
And
sell
the
it.
wine. Right.
But I think we've struck a happy medium. Because there is the opposite, which is true, that a lot of wineries do just push their product out because of lack of space. They'll turn a wine around in 6 months. I mean, you see this all the time. I mean, I started
sure.
seeing 2023 vintage wines on the shelf in February from California. 23 vintages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Some of
And
their
some
those are
stuff-
turned around in 6 months, less than 6 months,
Yeah.
5 months.
Yeah.
They're harvesting in August, and they're putting them on the shelf in January and February. Because of just what you said, they just got to move this stuff
like
out.
a Beaujolais.
There is no smart financial economic sensibility to.
Unless you want to make a small fortune from a large one.
Yeah, you just keep making your fortune smaller and smaller and smaller as you're sitting on
know.
these wines and storing them in a warehouse and heating them and cooling them every season and
Yeah.
maintaining them forever and ever, and it's just not a.
But
wise
it does
decision.
make
A better wine.
It does make a better wine, and you can, if we drank this the other way, if we start with this young, disjointed thing and progressively move down towards the 20, we would go, that's what we want. That's what we want to be drinking, and we wouldn't even know if we tried the 19 and the 17 and the 14 how that's going.
Yeah.
So they need that.
But
They need at least these wines. I know my Lake House Red, the Hermitage, Lake House White, all these need at least a year and a half or two before they go into bottle, and then they really benefit from 1 or 2 years of age. And that's it. And Matt's right. It's up to the consumer to buy and hold.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
If you want
That's right. You
a
know, you find
well-aged
something
wine,
you find something you like, buy it, store it.
yeah, because honestly, you can buy older wines. You're going to pay $30, $40, $50 or more
Yeah.
for somebody else to store your wines for you, because it costs a lot of money to maintain that wine safely
It does.
in a warehouse.
Yeah.
So if you want to drink older wines, you either need to come up with a bigger pocketbook or buy them right
And then sit
and
on
lay
it.
them down. And this
Right.
is my motivation.
That's
I
what you
can't
do.
afford
Right.
to buy $50 wines all the time.
I can't
just
wait.
I know.
I
have
can't wait.
I have
So
a great
I just-
collection right now.
I know.
But they're young. I didn't do what I did. You know, Gordon set me off with my early collection, and he gave me some wines that were already
Well, you asked him for
well on the
wines
way.
that are ready in a few years, wines that are ready in 5
Yeah.
years, some that are 10 years. And that was 10 years
And
ago.
it was 10 years ago, so I've caught up, and I've probably drank some of those wines prematurely.
And there
because
have been some that
Pretty
have gone
much.
over.
Yeah, there were a few that
There were a
went
couple
over.
that have gone over.
But I have been trying to learn how better to buy the wines that I'm buying for that cellar,
Yes.
so that there's a wider range. I want to keep a range. And right now, if you were to look at my cellar, probably 10% of it is approaching an elderly wine, 10 to 12 years. It's a very small, probably less than 10%, probably 5% is at the tenor. So it's not a lot of wines. I can't crack those open very often because they'll be gone too quickly. So I'm waiting till some of the other wines catch up so that I have a range.
Chuck and I need to come to your house and
I
help
know,
you out.
You do. There's that really special Rioja that we have to open someday that we didn't open because it was like the third bottle into the night, and we didn't want to open this really. You
Oh,
brought
good.
it up.
Good. I brought it up?
You brought it up, and then we looked at it, and I did the data on it, and we both agreed
Yeah.
it's probably not the best night to drink
Right.
one of the best wines you have in your cellar.
No, it's always best to start with the best wine.
Never.
And then
Never
later
end
in the
right.
evening,
Drink your cheap stuff.
definitely don't go down in the cellar and go, oh yeah, let's have this one. It's going to be great.
You're
Because
not
you're
gonna
not going to
appreciate
appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
You just go and grab a box wine out of the fridge and have that.
It's fascinating. This last wine I had reminds me of our early days of winemaking.
This one, this
Mhm.
23, because it's so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
a
mean,
lot of
that's-
our wines, a lot of our early wines went into the bottle that way.
Yeah, because we didn't know
We
better.
hadn't figured it out.
Yeah. I had an 09 the other night that was from your cellar that you were going to, and it was spot on.
It's great.
It was a Cabernet.
Yeah.
That's just was drinking great 15 years later.
Glad you could have it. I still have a few of those in the cellar as well.
I think, I'm so pleased with this wine over time. I'm so glad we went to putting it in a full-size bottle, instead of the,
Oh, and the skin, well,
skinny little single
we used to
serve
have
things.
the Redscare Oak and the Redscare
Redscare. Well, that's one-
regular, and they were both in the skinny bottles. They were
Right.
clear bottles, not colored
Right,
bottles.
Right. Right, exactly.
Matt says he finds your meads generally age beautifully. I think this is generally the rule I've seen. I don't think I've found a mead that doesn't age well.
Yeah, there's only one that I found.
What's that?
It's my 3-spice. So the Metheglins, where you're using spices, aromatic spices, those aromatics go away. They don't age.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
so
spice
the
mead.
3-spice mead was coriander, cardamom, and black
Yeah,
pepper,
and it dulled.
and it dulls within a couple of years. And like some of the wines that we produce, like crabapple, rosé, strawberry rhubarb, all those are drink fresh. So those I
Sure.
try to make them in a batch size that they're going to be consumed within a year.
Yeah.
And they don't spend any time in barrel. They're 6 months, 8 months before they're ready. They go in a bottle. They get consumed, and that's what it's all about. It goes great.
Matt wants to put something up on the camera. I don't know what that is, Matt. Tell me what you want specifically to hold up to the camera. I'm assuming it's one of our red scares, but I don't know which one.
Maybe he just wants to look at the color of it.
Hmm.
They are a little different. The lightest one is a 21.
Yeah.
This year the
The newest version, which
It's
Well,
that one, the 23.
It's
Probably poured in your glass to show them the color. Look how clear this is, isn't it? For beautiful, for just being a couple months old, unfiltered. It just settles out beautifully.
See, I don't know if that's helping you see what you want to see, but that's the newest version.
Look at the sunlight in here.
Philip says a 2-year-old British Columbia mead was gone. Wow, that's young. 2 years.
Only 2 years.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean,
Meads hold up well. I mean, just the nature of honey.
They tend to hold up really well, and I'm not quite sure why. It could be the antioxidant components.
After having that,
Going
I
back
want
to
to go
21.
back to the 21, just to see
That's a
how
good
I
idea.
react to it differently.
Right. Yeah, we've found that all the meads seem to hold up really well, even without a lot of tannins and. Yeah,
Because
it's a little.
It's lighter, so
Yeah.
much lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. The fruit just didn't have the same concentration of color.
So the nature of honey holding up well is because of its, on the shelf as honey, it's because of the high sugar content, right? Bacteria.
It's both high sugar and it's the antioxidant components, antibacterial. I mean, honey itself is good at killing microbes. Humans at various places used to, an open wound, a bloody wound, you can smear honey on it, and it's better than a triple antibiotic for just killing bacteria.
Wow.
It's a mess because you've got sticky honey in your cut. What are you looking at there in the glass?
Look at there's like a sparkle. Do you see that in the sun? There's like it almost looks like carbonation, but it's not moving.
Well, it is lively, the 21. I noticed that coming out of the bottle. And so this may be, off-gassing a little bit. Corks breathe, but they don't, they can still hold some pressure. So when you open up a wine, and it's, as you know, these are live foods. They keep changing. They keep evolving.
Are these filtered? Or finely filtered?
No.
Not at all.
I don't think they're filtered at all.
Not at all. Not even a plate.
No.
Really?
There might be some of these vintages, if I'm worried about clogging the bottle filler, I'll do like a coarse, I'll pass it through a coarse one. But I've been doing less and less of that. So I'd have to go back to my notes, but I suspect that these are just completely unfiltered. It's just gravity settling. Now how does that differ for you?
It's hard to know. It's hard to believe that this is the same wine as that. It's so different.
That is the, as we know from making wines from the grapes in your backyard that we were growing and grapes that we brought in, the wines evolve. They change a lot in their first 6-9 months. And it's hard to kind of, look into or taste into what this young 3-month-old Redscare is like.
I can't wait
To see
for a couple years to go by
what it's
and to
gonna
see what
have.
that's
Yeah.
going to be in the bottle. And that's
Yeah.
still in barrel, right?
It's still in the barrel.
So
yeah,
it's
I took
good.
it out
It's
of the
got
barrel.
micro-oxidation going on.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
a neutral barrel, right? So
Yep.
there's no
Yeah.
character from the barrel going to be imparted.
Yeah. That's fun. This middle of April, we have a vertical tasting of Petit Blue Reserve.
I'm more excited
Which-
about that now than ever before.
It's
Because
really going to be fun.
yeah, this has really taught me a lot. It's been a long time since I've done a vertical on Redscare. I almost wish we started with one of our older ones because we have them going back. But you know what we should do? This Petit Blue vertical has been successful. The time and the new date that we put it in, we should do a Redscare vertical following, like maybe in May.
Mid-May.
Mid-May, Redscare
Mid-May,
vertical. I bet you
Redscare
Matt will
vertical.
come. Bet
And
you, right, Matt?
Matt,
Redscare vertical.
Matt does an app. We at first advertised the Petit Blue Reserve vertical tasting in the evening, and we had someone come back to us and say, "Hey, we really want to come. I've got a group of half a dozen people, but it works much better if we could do it during the day." And so we landed on doing it at 2:00
On a Sunday.
on a Sunday, and now it's sold out. So the 15 seats are gone. I wonder if that would be a good timing for people, that we do it like that on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, we could
Instead
even
of
do
an
it on
evening.
a Saturday.
Yeah,
I mean,
after
it might be a little hard on a Saturday.
because we give tours and we're
There's
busy.
a lot of people
super
here, and
busy.
you and I are usually needed upstairs.
Sunday's better.
Sunday's
probably.
a better day. Yeah.
But that would be fun. I mean, I'd like to go back. I'd like to do a Lake House White vertical with some of the originals,
I
like
discovered
Whiteface,
a Whiteface
like
in my
Whiteface.
cellar.
You have one?
In my cellar, yes.
I think I saw one at the warehouse the other
Yeah.
day in the
I
library.
think there is one there.
Yeah.
Matt asked if there's bottle shock going on. We noticed that the one you just bottled was fairly disjointed. Would you call what we were experiencing?
No, that's not bottle shock.
Okay.
But the wines do go through bottle shock. Some of them more than others. Petit Blue is a crybaby. It gets so pissed off at having anything done to it that it just acts like this terrible little thing for a few days. Remember, I remember years ago
Oh, it wasn't
when
Petit Blue,
we
though. It was
scaled it.
another
Yeah, it
one.
was Petit Blue. I
Was
thought
it?
I ruined it, and I'm my head's down. I'm writing a note to Bob and Chuck, going, guys, I'm really sorry. This was
I was down in
this
the
was
islands.
this
I
was
was
a
in,
full
I was down in St. Martin, I think.
this is a full Titan. So
Either
this
St.
is a,
Martin or St. John. So, I don't know, one of those islands. And you were practically crying.
I was crying. I was so distraught. You know, I made this big batch of wine at the time. It's small compared to what we do now, but it was big. You know, I put my heart and soul into it. Everything was tasting great, and then I filtered it, and it was just, I filtered everything out of it. It was just terrible. It was just terrible, completely. I stripped everything out of it.
So it was filter shock.
I ruined the wine. It was filter shock, which is kind of like what bottle shock is. You physically manipulate the wine, and it doesn't like it, and it falls apart for a little while. And Petit Bleu is, when I bottle, the same thing, but the filtering really just kills it. Anything else, you can, the crab apple, you know, filter, and it's just fine. It comes through that, and you can drink it right after, almost. It has some, but then by the time you came back, and we finally got together, and you and Chuck are like, okay, and you're probably, you know, you're beating yourself up, you're too hard on it, you're trying to make it perfect, and it's probably fine. And so I grab a sample for you guys. I say, here, see, it's just gonna be terrible. And you look at each other like, this is really good, Ken. What are you talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean? And so I tried, and I'm like, hey, it's back. It's fine.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So now I don't stress about it. Well, I
Yeah, you do.
stress about it. But I've learned about that one, so that one's fine. So bottle shock is
It's the thing.
it's a thing, and in the movie Bottle Shock
Oh,
talks
if you-
about that
no,
same thing.
Yeah, there's a whole scene dedicated to it. If you haven't seen Bottle Shock, you should watch it.
Great movie,
If you
yeah.
want to know about Bottle Shock. But, so we've squandered another hour.
Really?
Yes, and
Wow.
and I don't know that we have an immediate plan for. We have some
For
good
next-
ideas
for
and
next
guests who
Monday?
we want to line up for coming shows, but you'll have to wait maybe till 4 hours before, if that be the case. But we'll do our best to try and put the topic together for next Monday.
That's right. I could just see, you know, Christine next time. She'll have 6 different wines all set up, none of them open, waiting to hear what we're going to talk about, and then maybe open one. What are these guys going to do? What are they talking about tonight?
Yeah. Well, this
But,
was fun. I learned a
it
lot
was-
about
it's-
Red Scare.
Yeah.
I feel more akin or closer to this wine than I was before.
And I'm really excited to release the 21 now.
And I'm excited
Because
to
I
release
was
it
a
too.
little, you know, I was coming off the 20, just like, this is just awesome. I just love this batch.
No, this is
And then
nice.
the 21 was a little thin, and after bottling, it just wasn't very exciting. But now it's really come together nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see both of these wines age into the future.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for a vertical tasting of Redscare sometime in mid-May. A couple
Mid-May.
people said they might be able to make it.
Great.
And until then, thank you all for joining us for yet another Monday. We really appreciate your thoughts and comments and participation in the show. And we'll look forward to seeing you hopefully next Monday.
Anybody want a bottle of Redscare?
Yeah, me.
Climb on through.
Me.
Climb on through your
I want
screen.
one.
Here you go.
Thank you all. Good night.